Hello, class. I just want to say that round one has been processed and I have the results right here. Now, if you remember, this team competition is running twice a week for 3 weeks. So you have round two is due on January 7th, and then you have 3, 4, 5, and 6, finishing on January 21st. Okay. Now, please make sure you're going to watch the videos. I have a video here to help with Zoom, as well as a video to get registered, which I think most people already have been registered. So in this video, I'm going to go over the results of round one and then give you some hints on how to improve your scores moving into round two. Okay, so let's look at the visuals. Here is the net profits by team. So the team with the most net profits is Fabrice. They are number one in net profits, followed by Jax. And then anybody who has net profits above 30 million is doing pretty well. So there's only one team that is low on total profits. They should definitely watch the previous video, the video that's attached here, to help, as well as this full video, to help learn more about this simulation. Okay, points per team, only one team lost points, and I think that has to do with their low profit performance. Fabrice, which is the number one in net profits, is the number one in points. So there's a hint right there. Do well in profits, you'll do well in points. Okay. If we look at sales, stock price per team. So Jax has the highest stock price per team, followed by Joseph and Fabrice. Now, stock price is a combination, of course, of profits, which turn into earnings per share. So it's a relationship between earnings and outstanding shares. So why isn't Fabrice in number one stock price? Well, it must be that Jax retired some shares of stock to help push his stock up. Okay, sales per team, number one in sales is Prime Auto. Now, being number one in sales doesn't make you a winner in the simulation. It's a good start, but you need to be number one in profits. Because what we learn in finance is we need to maximize shareholders' wealth. To maximize shareholders' wealth, we have to maximize profits, which maximizes earnings per share, which maximizes return on assets, return on equity, market capitalization. So, it's great to be number one in sales, but you have to also be number one in profits to win. Okay, earnings per share. So you see how Jax has the highest earnings per share, and that's why they have the highest stock price. Okay. All right, so let's go into the leaderboard. So here we have the current points. So 1,000 points is fantastic. I very rarely see 1,000 points in round one. And anybody who earned over 700 points in round one is doing fantastic. That is a lot of points to earn, and you're, almost, a good percentage of the way there to getting the total points needed for the simulation. Only one team lost points, and that's unfortunate. Let's hope they get back on track next round. And watch this video to the end, because I'm going to be giving some advice on how to do better. And with the gross profit margins, we have one team in the 60%, one team in the 50%, and all the other teams at the 40% mark. Only two teams destroyed profit, though. We started at 40%. So if you're below 40%, you didn't do anything to improve your profit. You made it worse. And that's what investors and shareholders hate. So you got to make sure that your gross profits are always increasing. Stock price went from, I think, $5 a share or $6 a share up to 19. So a lot of companies will greatly improve their stock price. Now, as the class goes on, we're going to learn about return on investment, return on equity, total points. This starts accumulating. It's cumulative. So next round's points will be added to this round's points. And that's how you get to for this competition, you need 2,500 cumulative points. So this is going to keep being added together as you keep playing rounds. So next round, if this team makes 600 points, they'll be at 1,676 points, total points. So it gets cumulative. Operating profit margins are after expenses, our earnings per share, or the total earnings divided by outstanding shares. Return on assets we're going to learn about in Chapter 3. Net profit margin in Chapter 3. Revenues per share. So one thing, you don't want to issue too much outstanding stock because that's going to that will make all the things that divide by outstanding shares, like earnings per share, it's going to make it lower, and that can affect your score as well. Total asset turnover, again, we're going to learn that in chapter 3. So right now, let's go back and okay, so this is my practice game. You don't have to play any practice games. You're playing a team competition, but I'm going to use my practice game to show you how I would have completed round 1, and I'm also going to show you how I would have completed round 2, the round that you're going to be working on and need to complete by the 7th. So first thing I would do is, I know that 40% is the starting profit margin. So one thing that I need before I start doing anything is I need to read over the student manual. So the student manual is an important tool in understanding how the simulation works. And one of the most important aspects of the student manual is forecasting. So it goes over forecasting, it even gives me a what if forecasting chart. So let me place that over here. Okay. Okay. So here I'm going to fill in my autos, and I'm just going to go for the bottom of the range. I'm just going to go 2 above the bottom of the range, and I'm just going to ask for put a pretty high price. Okay, I'm beating 40%. That's what I want to do. I want to beat 40%, and I'm going to use the forecast for year 1. So for year 1, we're looking at 21. So I'm just going to go, I'm going to do 2,000 because I don't want to buy an extra plant for just 100 cars. So I'm just going to, and my cars are not really the most competitive since I'm not quite at the bottom of the scale. Okay, so now I'm going to move this over a bit. I'm going to do, so for year 2, 26, 18 is, okay, so I'm going to do 26, sale price, 2,600. I'm still above 40%, which is what I want. Now, so here, 30, 49, and I think this is 1,500. Okay, so the last car. I'm just going 3 above the minimum. Okay, and let's see, for the last car, the luxury, and I'm going to do 1,700. So when it says 5% here, I mean, it's not very important to the buying criteria, so I can put a high price because they're not really price sensitive here. Now for the luxury, this is a big important factor, so I should probably increase this a little bit to make it more competitive. Okay, so I'm going to submit the sales. Next, of course, is the advertisement. So we have 1 million. This is the low end is 500, the high end is 1 million. So I'm going to fill this out. I'm going to do this off camera because it takes a long time. Because again, you want to use the student manual and you want to look at the advertising area, the percentages of effectiveness. So if television is the most effective, I'm going to put most of my money in television. Next is internet, so I'll put more money in internet, but less money in direct mail because it's less, important. So this is how you fill out that. So I'm going to do this separately because it takes a while. Okay, now we're in the production. So I need to buy a production plant. Once I buy it, I have it forever. And I want to always have my excess or shortage 0. And I want to buy levels of technology to help my cars be better. I want them to I have to buy 2 plants here. So I'm just going to start with level 1. Since it's round 1, start with level 1s. Nope, I don't want the 1,600. because I can't buy all of them because I don't have enough money yet to buy everything I want. So I look down here quick. I see I have a deficit. That's not great. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to borrow some money. Okay. So now I have a small surplus. Let's see what happens when I complete the round. Now this is the practice game. You don't have to work in the practice game. I'm just doing this to show you how I would submit round one, my results, and how I'd submit round two. So you have some better information when you complete your round two. Okay, so my round one is completed, and now I'm in round two. And I see that I scored 700. Now I had a deficit. It showed before that I had a surplus. What happened? Okay, so this is the pro forma, which we're going to learn in chapter 3, which means a guesstimate based on my forecasting. So if my forecasting is not correct, my pro forma will not be correct. That's why I had a surprise deficit, because I must have over forecasted. So if I look here, I have cars that were left in inventory that I did not sell. So they never materialized into profits. And that's why I have a surprise deficit. So my forecasting was not that accurate, and I had a very low surplus. So I didn't have enough surplus to cover any unsuspected sales not materializing. Okay. Now I see here that my revenues went up, and every percentage point my revenues go up, I earn a percentage. So my ratios went down because my quick ratio, because I borrowed money. My profit margins went up, so I earned points for all my profit margins increasing. My total asset turnover went down because I bought a lot of assets and didn't have enough profits to match. I made points in my other financial measures, of which we're going to learn in chapter 3. Market capitalization went up. My forecasts were stronger than the previous round, so I earned points in my forecasts and my operational investments. So I only lost points in my deficit. Okay, so moving into the assessment, this will help me understand why is my revenue low. It'll talk about things I did well, and if I didn't do well, I only have 2 stars. It'll give me some information on how to improve it. So the assessment area is how you learn, how you did, what you did well, what you did poorly, and these little information buttons will tell you how to improve. This would be individual charts. I think the performance charts are the most important, specifically at the bottom here when you look at your forecast versus actual. So the yellow is the actual sales, the blue is the potential. So the only car I could have sold more of was the economy, and I pretty much matched all the demand for my other 2 vehicles. Okay. The industry, I could see how my competitors did, look up the better competitors, the people that competed at a higher level, and maybe I want to copy what they did to learn about what the better companies did compared to my company. My financials are backed up, and here is now my actual financials are in here, so I can see exactly how I had that deficit. So I had a negative cash flow, so the cash flows are in here, and we're going to learn about how to do the cash flows in chapter 3. And here's my deficit, so I could see exactly on the income statement and balance sheet how the deficit developed, and it was less sales than I had forecasted, which resulted in less profits, which resulted in less cash, which led to the deficit. And this, again, we're going to learn financial statements in chapter 3. Okay, back to sales. Now it's round 2. You're in round 2 for the team competition. I'm in round 2 for my practice. So I'm going to show you how I would complete round 2 to give you some ideas so you can compete better in round 2. First thing, again, I'm going to go to the student user guide and I'm going to look at the year 2. I want to look at the forecast for year 2. Keep that in mind because it's not going to be identical, but it's a good starting point. Okay, so I see I have $1,200 in cost reductions for my operational investments. So I made these operational investments and I get a 300 cost reduction per level. There are 4 levels I bought. So that's what's giving me that $1,200 in cost reduction. What that means is if I spend $3,700, I'm only really spending $2,500 because I'm getting a cost reduction on the total build of the car. Okay, so I'm going to build my car again. And I see that looking at the last year's decisions to the new customer expectations, customers are expecting more. So I have to build a better car. but the price I could sell the car at is also higher. So that helps compensate. So I'll be able to increase by 1 percentage point, which isn't great, but how can I make that better? Maybe here in engine power, since they don't really care much about engine power, I'll actually go below the required range and increase my profit margins that way, since customers aren't really that concerned about it. Okay. So let me do the, okay, so it will go up 2% there. All right, so I increased that. I just lowered the engine power, and maybe I could do, nope, there is warnings. If I go too low, I'm not able to reduce some of the variables. So it's sort of a game because I want to get enough increase in gross profit margin to please my investors. So I'm going to start off here, and I don't suggest following exactly what I'm doing, but I'm trying to do something that, so I'm making a sports car that is not going to really please investors. So I'm going to under forecast the car because I know it's not the most competitive. I'm getting that warning again, meaning that I have to really do better here. Okay, so I did increase. As long as I'm increasing my profit margins, I'm happy. But I can also play around a bit where I can reduce some variables a little bit to try to get, and I'm under forecasting because I don't think my car is as competitive because I had some lower vehicle amounts, but I'm okay with being less competitive as long as I'm more profitable. Okay, next up is going to be the marketing page, which I'm going to do that off camera because that takes a real long time to do. Okay, now I'm in the production page. So I see I'm going to have to buy another plant, just one, because I have to have a capacity of 3,000 if I want to build 2,700. I'm going to increase my operational investments. I'm going to go to 2 levels. You could do more, you could do less, but this is just what I'm doing here. Now, for the sedan, I'm forecasting 3,300. Now, I don't want to buy a production plant just to make an extra 119. So I'm going to just say 3,000 here. I'm going to be short 119 cars, which I'm going to fix the other screen in a second, because the reason I'm doing that is because it's expensive to buy a whole nother production plant. Will cost me $10 million. I don't know if I have the money for that yet, so I'm going to pull back a little bit on that, because I'd rather put the money in my operational investments than a new production plant right now. Eventually, I'm going to have to buy that next round. I don't have to buy one here either, so okay. So let me save this. Now, I'm going to go back to the sales page for a minute, and I'm going to fix up that forecast for the sales, because the forecast should be accurate. In order for the pro forma financial statements to be clear, so I'm going to go 3,181 on this. And I'm going to submit that. And then I'm going to go to the sale, the production. And I see that now it's down to 0 because I moved it to this. So you can go back and adjust your sales forecast. And I just did this because I wanted to save money buying a production plant. So now I'll just submit this again and go into the finance page. So now I'm going to look at the pro forma, and I want to see where I am on the pro forma financial statement. Okay, so I'm going to go down. So this is, if I sell everything I forecasted, I'll make 322 million in sales and 80 million in net profits. So that gives me a $39 million surplus, which is great. So I have some money. I'm going to go back to the production, and I'm just going to buy an extra level of operational investments for each car since I have some extra money. So I'm going to put some money here. I'm going to submit that. And I'm going to go back. So I spent some money, so it's going to lower my surplus. All right, so now my surplus is 31 million. So I'm going to go, now I have, a surplus, I'm going to actually retire some funds. Because I spent a lot last round buying additional funds, hoping to prevent okay, it looks like there's a minimum here. I can 20%. Okay, so I think 10 is the most I can do. So I'm going to buy back some shares of stock to help reduce my outstanding shares because I really put a lot of money, borrowed a lot last round. So I'm paying the stuff back I borrowed last round to help my financial situation a little bit better. But I still have a $13 million surplus. And I think I should always keep a surplus more than 10 million just in case I have an unexpected deficit. So I'm going to complete round 2. Now remember, you're not doing the practice game like I am. You're doing the team competition. So you can't see your results quickly. You're free to play practice games, but you have to also complete the team competition against the other students. So let's see how I did in round 2. I'm in round 3 now. So I made 500 points. So I had my surplus. I had my operational investments. Since I made operational investments, you get points for making those investments as well. My sales went up by 40%. My ratios, quick and debt ratios improved because I paid down debt. My profit margins increased, gross operational and net. And the net in turn, except for equity multiplier, which is a return on equity, return on investment. I did good in pretty much every category except for return on investment, return on equity. This is really looking at the money invested in the company versus the return, which is not as good as last round because I took on a lot of assets. But in all of the categories, I did very well. So now my points for this round, 573. So if I look at the industry page at my company, check out. So you kind of just go through everything again, and I see that my total points so far are 1,300. So they're added together. I'm doing well, and then again I move into do it again for the third round. But now my operational investments are up from 12 to 27. So that's going to cover 2,700 of my costs. Not for every category, but just in total. So that's going to help me keep my profit margins where I want them to be. Okay, so that's my video explaining the results for the team competition round 1, 2 rounds of me completing the simulation, showing you how I would have done it to move ahead. So now it's your turn. You have to go back into the simulation, click on team competition, and work on round 2, which is due on January 7th. So make sure you get that done, and I'll be talking to you soon. Take care.